Is it Bitcoin that they're going against, like with this energy use thing? Is it crypto because of the sinking ship of the financial system, or is it technology overall? And I'm not sure what your answer was. Is it like all of that, and it's all a bunch of different factions?
Yeah, absolutely. So there are factions that focus on, more on each one of those categories, but there's a lot of overlap. There's a lot of technophobia. There's a lot of, sort of phobia or hatred of corporations that are ostensibly, destroying the environment through all of this energy usage. And it's really remarkable for me to watch the cultural production that's happening around this. There's a new show, and I'm struggling to remember the title now that I watched. It's like starts with an E, but it deals with, it's sort of a near future sci-fi that deals with the effects of climate change in the imagining of the author, and it has a star-studded cast, including like Meryl Streep and Ed Norton and all these people. And watching it is like, it's like watching religious television. Like you immediately know who you're supposed to like, who you're supposed to hate, the good guys, the bad guys. There is a kind of apocalyptic worldview that's on display, a righteous minority that's fighting it. It's very good versus evil. And this kind of polarized view of the world has become more and more frequent, even among, really thoughtful people, really well-educated people. I think in large part because the problems that we're facing as a species seem to be so intractable and complex that people don't know where to even begin in solving them. And so you have, ludicrous suggestions like one of the ones that came out of one of the recent COP meetings, where Prince Charles suggested that we needed to spend 3 times the world's GDP to solve climate change. But okay, that presumes that we already know what the solution to this problem
Yeah.
is. We just need money.
Yeah.
But that's truly not the case. Like money is not, a lack of money is not the problem here.
Yeah.
It's that we're dealing with something that is an emergent, complex, not just natural system, but social system, human economic system, and there are real effects to whatever policy direction we take. Governments are proving that they are, in fact, not the venue that is capable of solving these problems. And so then the question becomes, what are the alternatives to action by the state? And we're seeing that in these orthogonal movements, of which Bitcoin is just one example.
Yeah, I love that. We have all these different complex systems that all interact with each other, which make it even a bigger complex system. And to think that you can fix something with one button push without affecting all these other things. I commented on Preston Pish put out a tweet earlier this morning, and he was talking about how with the banking collapse, a lot of these smaller banks going down is now affecting the LNG and the energy markets.
Yeah.
And so I commented, and I was like, so to fight inflation, we raise rates. To raise rates, we crush the banking sector. Then we have to bail them out. That's inflationary. Then we damage the energy industry, which is inflationary. So by thinking there's one single metric or one single trigger of interest rates, but then we cause all these other problems, and it's sort of like then thinking we can control the entire world that we don't even understand with a single metric like carbon or carbon emission.
Right.
So what do you think is the proper way to do it? And I would just say, for me, I think that complex systems have to be free and let them sort of figure it out. I think a lot of it comes from a worldview where these people have like a godlike complex. They think they're God and they have to go figure this out. It's up to them. I don't know. What's your take on that?
Yeah. Absolutely. So any bottom-up theory of change, whether we're talking about Austrian economics or certain versions of socialism or anarcho syndicalism or whatever, um, you know, is premised on the idea that human individual agents acting in their own interest will over time coalesce into social formations that give us more accurate information, for example, about price, better living conditions for everyone because we don't have these like over leveraged social actors imposing their will on others, and create sort of de risk change. So the system will include both the ability to exit and the ability to influence the system through voice, which are both necessary mechanisms of adaptation and reform. The problem with the way that governments are currently constellated is that they, they have a few tools in their toolkit. They like to cut off the exits. They like to cut off voice, so in effect, render voice ineffective. And then they like to pick winners. And so
When you say in this instance, you're talking about like the powers that be, I guess, so to speak.
right, right. So representatives of the
Right.
state, government agencies, heads of those agencies, the executive branch, even in some cases, powerful legislators or judicial actors, they have a tendency to put their thumbs on the scale to such an extent that they render the system as a whole more fragile. And so what happens is that, social pressure for change builds up, it has nowhere to go, and it then gets released, either in like big acts of coordinated revolution, or in smaller acts of sort of stochastic violence, which like we've been seeing in the United States and like the mass shooting phenomenon. Like, why is that phenomenon accelerating? And it's not just people of one ideological orientation. It's
a good question
people.
that should be should be asked for sure. We should definitely
Right.
stop.